And that was The Green Fields of France by Schaeffrey.
I'm really excited about our next topic, about the ethics of different things. I've spent a lot of time looking into this and reading about it, and I brought some different books and things to talk about with it, and I would love to hear different theories and what your code of ethics are. So maybe at the end of the show we could open up the phone lines for anybody who would like to put their 2 cents in, I guess you could say.
The Stanford rapist, as most of you probably know, got off with just a little bit of probation. Pretty much a slap on the wrist, and part of it seems to be because he was an athlete. And, it's just one of those cases where people get off of things not because of their innocence or their guilt or anything else, but just because of what they are and what they do.
Well, coming from being a victim of rape and being messed with as a child, what he did is absolutely not acceptable. But that's not what we're focusing on for this discussion. We're actually focusing on the pagan matter at hand about hexing and was it right, was it wrong, those different kinds of things. So, I'm a believer in karma, so we'll be discussing that a little bit too.
Today we're going to be talking about the predicament with the Stanford rapist. Not so much whether what he did was right or wrong, because of course rape is always wrong. Always. There is no doubt that what he did was wrong. There's no doubt that justice should be served. But there's a lot of folks out there, especially among the Wiccan crowd, that they don't think the justice has been served properly, so they're taking it into their own hands to serve justice via spell work.
Well, coming from a Wiccan background myself, we live by the law of do what you will, but harm none. So what fathoms me or confuses me is instead of hexing him, I don't understand why they didn't, light a candle and build up the victim and the victim's family, not go after the rapist. That's what I don't understand. But I brought Miss Dunwich a book, the Concise Lexicon of the Occult, and I want to read you what it says for hexing for those people that don't know what a hex is. Let's see. There's actually three different explanations, so we'll just read them. In American folk belief, an evil spell or curse, hexing involves the casting of spells through magical formulas based mainly on gypsy folk magic and medieval church rituals. Although hexes are usually performed as black magic to inflict illness, misfortune, or even death, they can also be used in a positive manner to cure sickness, bring good luck, or break the powers of the evil eye and the jinx. The belief in the hexeria continues to be widespread in modern times. As late as 1949, a lawsuit for alienation of affection of hexing was brought to Lee County, Pennsylvania. Hex signs, which are painted on barns to protect animals from the evil eye and the workings of the spells, are still common today in eastern Pennsylvania. The term hex is found in various parts of the United States, especially among the Pennsylvania Dutch, and stems from the German hex, meaning witch. The second one says to bewitch or cast an evil spell upon a particular person, animal, or property. Number 3 is a man or woman who practices evil folk magic or possesses the supernatural power of the evil eye.
Okay. Well, in this case, what people have done is they've decided to buy into a type of vigilantism.
Mm-hmm.
Where since the court did not hand down the sentence that they wanted or they expected, they're taking things into their own hands. And to me, there's no difference between putting a hex on somebody, praying against somebody, which some Christians will do. They'll pray against somebody instead of praying for them. Um, there's no difference in that and say deciding, well, I'm going to go shoot this person because I believe that that's what justice should be.
And see, I agree with you completely because, it started with one woman who said she was a powerful witch. She's been in it for 30 years and she's only put 3 hexes in her life. And it started with that. And what happened was there was an event page made on Facebook for her coven, and it was a public thing so that all the coven members knew. And before they knew it, there was, 600 people or more that was decided to do this. And the more about the article I read, they talked about impotency, they talked about pine needles and bad dreams, and food wouldn't be nourishment for him. And that's no different than somebody hanging and burning a witch. Whether it's their faith or not, that's beside the point. But that's a relation to it. That's the way that I see it, is you're condemning that person by using the power that you were given, and it's not positive at all. And that's where, witches get bad names and bad publicity. And this just made it worse for all of us, I think.
Yeah, I agree. In many ways it will make it worse. But another thing that I'm looking at is that a couple years ago I tried to start up a Facebook group to combat terrorism using, for pagans to combat terrorism specifically, using magic. But yet, hardly anybody would get behind working magic against ISIS or Al Qaeda, and these are people that obviously kill hundreds, if not thousands of people. They rape, they pillage, they burn, they destroy, they tear down stuff from other religions. These are very evil people. But yet, a rapist, not saying that being a rapist is right, because it definitely is not. But yet, this single rapist has gotten more attention and has gotten more people to act against him than the big terrorist groups such as ISIS and Al Qaeda.
Well, I think the reason why that is, per se, is because there's thousands of men and women that have been abused in their lives, been raped, been hurt, been beat. You're playing with people's emotions. So on that level, it's more personal to them. ISIS and those kinds of things, man, when they came in and, did what they did, it pissed me off. And I was a firm, bold believer. But, as time went on, and I think the whole country was, but as time went on, it became less and less predominant, even though it was still predominant to the soldiers that went and fought, the families, those kinds of things. But in every person's regular life, it wasn't at the front. And I think the media is definitely not helping things either. Yeah. The media is one way or the other on several things. And, it's just, I don't think that it was definitely done necessarily maliciously. I think it was, one woman who wanted to do something because she was mad. Okay, well, you can't blame every pagan or every witch for that because one person started it. Okay, yeah, there's thousands and thousands of people in our country. So if you only have 600 witches out of, thousands and thousands of people, that's still kind of a minority group. So not all pagans and Christians and witches and all these different people, they don't all think the same way. It's just like we have insane asylums for those special people that have issues. I'm not saying that they are crazy or whatever, the people that did this, but what I'm saying is, there's all different peoples in this world, all different kinds of people, and it takes all different kinds of people. But there is one thing that I did see that came positive out of this. I was reading some different articles and stuff, and the lady that started all of this, she said that it really turned into a therapy thing before the witches that were involved, a lot of people were sharing their stories and their own personal stories and this and that. And so I think that was the good that came out of it. But at the same time, would I ever do that? Absolutely not. Um, in my 7 or 8 years that I've done this, been in this faith and this path and everything, um, there's only been one time that I have ever done something that I don't normally do. I had been having some serious issues with some people, and they were physically harming me. And so I went in and I didn't do it alone because I wasn't real sure how to do it, and I wanted to do it safely. So me and 2 other witches got together and we just bound that person. And basically what that is just you take them and bind them from hurting you or harming you or anything like that. The only other thing, and I didn't even do this until just within the last year, I was meeting with some elder people and we were talking and different things, and they said, well, people that try to do harm to you or hurt you or whatever, it's okay to send them back what they've sent you. And so I was like, well, how do I do that safely? Because I'm not one to harm anyone. I do have Wiccan roots, and I live by the law. I don't even kill spiders unless, they're ginormous or harmful or whatever. But I came to the fact of that it was okay to send the energy that they had sent to you back. And so, all I did was just, said a little something, didn't say anything harmful. I even said, this is not for ill will or intent. I just cannot have this energy in my life anymore, and just sent it back to them. And, I'm a believer in karma. I believe in karma twofold. It may take, or threefold. It may take a long time for it to get there, but it will get there. I've seen it numerous times in my life. Numerous times. But it may take a while, but I live by the law, too, of everything happens for a reason. And, if this wouldn't have happened, this whole hexing and things, maybe people wouldn't understand that, there is a positive and a negative way of magic. Mm-hmm. And almost every person in this path that I've ever met does, positive magic. I think I've maybe met 1 or 2 that do the dark magic, but, and everybody's like, oh my goodness, witches are evil and da 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 da, and I hear it all the time. But honestly, I haven't come across anybody that, except for maybe 1 or 2, that are harmful.
Well, you have nutcases in any religion.
That's true. That is absolutely true.
Including our own family religion.
Oh,
I've run across quite a few over the years, but I've run across, Christian nutcases. I've run across a few Muslim nutcases.
And honestly, I'm not one against, I'm not a supporter of ISIS by any sense of the means, and then people just piss me off worse than anything else. But, that is that's one of those that ISIS is, they say they're Muslim or whatever, but Muslim people, almost every Muslim person I've ever met is no different than anybody else.
Yeah.
That's just a sect of the crazy,
Well, I've known lots of Muslims in my time. When I was a kid, my mom even dated a couple of them. So I know a lot about how some Muslims treat their families. And I won't say all Muslims, because all Muslims do not belong to the same culture, even though they belong to the same religion.
Mm-hmm.
And different cultures are going to look at that religion different. Of all the Muslims I've known 1 that was a jerk. And that was it. Most of them were really good folks. And same with Christians. But then you have the types that, whether they're Muslim or Christian or Jewish or what have you, Buddhist, Hindu, it doesn't matter. that they figure if you don't follow their path, then you must be evil. For instance, when I used to live in the high rise here in Hot Springs, which is for the disabled and the elderly, I had one guy that would get in an elevator with me. If there was no one else there, he would start praying at me as soon as the elevator doors closed, trying to ask his God to keep me from hurting him, as if I was going to harm this guy. And it was just, he was a nutcase. He was somebody that he was a religious extremist, and he figured that if we followed a different religion than him, that we need to literally be burnt out.
See, and I come across that a lot. Everybody's like, you instantly know if they're going to want to know. I come across more people that want to ask questions and want to understand.
It's for our mid-show break, and we'll be listening to Ready for the Storm by Deanta.